Have you ever heard of a king so wise that even wisdom could not save him?
This is my story. One of the darkest warnings ever written.
I built a house for the divine, and then I raised altars to others.
I had everything: wealth, glory, and power beyond measure. But a single weakness can poison an entire kingdom. My alliances were not just for peace. They were bindings of the heart.
Heaven was watching, while the world marveled at my riches.
How did the wisest among you become a warning for all time?
Follow me from the favor of the divine to the collapse of a throne. It began in Jerusalem with a prince named for peace. My name means peaceful, but I was born from the echoes of conflict.
The union that brought you here was a forbidden desire.
Before me stood a soldier of honor, loyal to the very end.
A letter was sent to hide a truth, but the divine sees every hidden path.
The soldier was left alone, exactly as the decree intended.
What is hidden from the eyes of men can never be hidden from heaven.
A king humbled himself in the dust, and mercy found a way through. Then I was born, a child of hope, after the storm had passed.
I saw a destiny in you that the world would one day struggle to comprehend. While your father ruled the land, I was tasked to shape the spirit of the chosen prince. I believed you carried more than mere intelligence.
But I was not the firstborn, and others stood in the light before me.
I knew the secret of your beginning, and I knew the danger of your future.
We moved quietly, weaving a path to place the weight of the crown upon your head. The aging king grew weak, and the struggle for what remained began in the shadows.
Another claimed the throne while the city still slept.
We pressed the dying king to act for the sake of the kingdom and the will of heaven.
And with his final strength, the declaration was made.
I was anointed, while the very foundations of the city trembled with uncertainty.
I was little more than a boy, yet the weight of every enemy began to press upon my shoulders.
My father's final warning echoed in the silence. Do not trust every smiling face in the palace.
I learned early that count necessary justice.
Even the altars of peace cannot shield the men who stand against the future.
I was a boy king who realized that survival is the first law of the throne.
I wanted more than a crown. I wanted a kingdom that no rival could ever dream of breaking. My first alliance was with the land of the Nile, a bridge made of gold and silver. It was brilliant diplomacy, and the first step toward the desire that would later consume me.
Then came the night that changed everything.
A moment where the silence of sleep met the voice of the infinite. A voice spoke through the radiance, offering me anything my heart could conceive. I did not ask for gold, nor long life, nor the defeat of those who stood against me. I asked for a discerning heart, a way to know the truth amidst the noise of a kingdom.
The request was granted, for it was a plea that found favor in the highest places.
A heart was given to me that would have no evil in all the generations of the world.
And because I did not seek them, wealth and honor were added to my portion.
When the dream ended, I carried a gift more precious than any crown ever forged.
Israel was about to enter its golden age, a time of wonder and terror.
My wisdom became a legend that traveled faster than the fastest caravan.
Then came the challenge that would make all of Israel tremble at the depth of my discernment.
Two voices claimed one life, and no witness could provide the truth.
The air heavy.
I listened not to their words, but to the truth hidden beneath the surface of their souls.
A terrible silence took hold, as the heart of each was laid bare before the blade. The other accepted the division without a trace of mercy. Give the living child to her. She is the mother.
News of the judgment spread like a wildfire throughout the corners of Israel.
The people recognized that the very wisdom of the divine had taken root in my heart. Yet the nation still clung to old ways, offering sacrifices upon the high places beneath the stars.
I wanted to build a house that would hold the name of the Lord forever.
But to build what I imagined, I needed resources that lay beyond our borders.
Word was sent to King Hiram, seeking the cedar and the craftsmen of the north.
The forests of Lebanon were moved across the waters to satisfy the vision. Then the foundations were laid, stones cut with such precision that no hammer was heard. The house for the divine began to take shape, and with it, the glory of my reign. For 7 years, the temple rose with a precision that seemed guided by the divine hand itself. Every measure and every angle was a testament to the order of the heavens. The walls were lined with the finest cedar, masking the stone with the fragrance of Lebanon. Pure gold covered every surface until the darkness was utterly banished from the sanctuary.
At the heart of it all lay this.
The city was no longer just a stronghold. It had become the center of the world's worship. With the house of the divine complete, I turned my sight toward a monument for my own reign.
13 years were spent carving a palace that would outshine the glory of kings past.
Its halls were vast, a forest of cedar brought indoors to honor the power of the throne.
My throne became the ultimate symbol of a kingdom that knew no equal in wealth or wisdom.
Gardens and waterways turned the palace into a sanctuary that seemed to outlive time itself. Every stone was polished, as if I intended to carve my name into the very bones of the earth. Israel became the crossroads of the world, a center of ideas and unparalleled power.
They came not for my gold, but to hear the voice of the divine through my lips.
Among them came a ruler of the south, a woman whose mind was as sharp as her journey was long.
I have crossed the sands with questions that only the wisest can answer.
Jerusalem welcomed the queen, but she came to test my soul.
I did not come to marvel at your walls, but to test the mind that designed them.
There is no riddle too deep, for the divine grants clarity to those who ask.
The truth is far greater than the legends. Not even half was told to me in my own land.
Praise be to the God of Israel, who has placed such wisdom in your heart.
For a time, the entire world looked to this throne for light.
Silver became as common as stone, for gold was the only metal fit for my table.
But greatness was not only found in gold. It lived in the words I wrote for the world to remember.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of all true knowledge.
I would one day reflect on the hollow echoes of a life lived for the self.
I celebrated a love as fierce as death and as beautiful as the dawn.
I became a ruler of memory, capturing the fleeting truth in ink and stone.
I was destined to be the greatest king Israel would ever know.
But beneath the splendor, a shadow was quietly feeding on my heart.
The first alliance with Egypt was merely the gate to 1,000 more.
In time, my house became a world of its own.
Every woman brought with her a piece of her homeland, a tapestry of culture that began to drape over my own.
I secured the peace of my borders through these unions, or so I believed at the time.
Every political victory carried a hidden price, a slow erosion of the devotion that once defined me.
The palace was alive with the music of 1,000 souls, a distraction that never slept.
At the peak of my glory, I appeared unstoppable to the world and to myself. But even the brightest gold can eventually hide the decay that festers in the heart. 700 wives of royal birth, a ledger of alliances that became a ledger of my fall.
And 300 concubines who filled the empty spaces of my palace and my soul.
The palace had become a labyrinth, where the scent of beauty was indistinguishable from the scent of danger. With each union came hidden loyalties and the silent competition of many lands. The favors I granted to some ignited a fire of rivalry that burned in the very halls of power.
And with the women came the priests and the altars of nations that did not know the divine.
Names once distant now rose near the city. Ashtoreth, Baal, and the high places of old.
I, who had built a house for the divine, now began to compromise with the very things I once stood against.
Desire had become a cloud that masked the wisdom once cherished.
When age came upon me, my heart was no longer my own. It had been turned away.
I raised altars for abominations on the very hills that guarded the holy city.
What began as quiet diplomacy had transformed into an open defilement of the sacred.
The city of the divine now held shrines to gods that had never delivered a single soul from the dark.
The tragedy was not found in the crumbling of walls, but in the...
Then the silence of heaven was broken by a wrath that shook the foundations of my peace.
Because you have not kept the covenant, the kingdom you built will be torn from your line.
Yet for the sake of the man who came before me, the blow would not fall while I still drew breath.
The unity of Israel was now a fragile ghost, waiting for the moment of my departure to vanish.
Almost immediately, adversaries rose like smoke from the edges of the map.
One of them was my own servant, a man of strength who saw the cracks before I did. A message was delivered in the wilderness, a promise of a kingdom yet to be born.
10 tribes were promised to the one who would challenge the house of my father.
The sentence had been spoken, and the unity I cherished was living on borrowed time.
The sentence had already been spoken. The unity of Israel was now living on borrowed time.
When I heard of the growing dissent, I tried to silence the echoes of prophecy.
But the one chosen by the prophet fled to the land of my first alliance, waiting for the fracture to widen.
I still possessed all the splendor of the world, yet my spirit was no longer at rest.
The king who once saw every horizon as a promise now felt the heavy weight of vanity. Out of that late sorrow came a haunting truth that would outlast the stones of my palace.
Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Everything I built.
I had tested every pleasure and every excess, only to find the soul still hungry for its source. The conclusion is this: fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. At last, I understood what wisdom alone could never teach me.